Hello and welcome to section 3. So this is how to use EFT Daily. So it made sense to include a little video for this section so I can show you what I'm going to tell you as well. But there's also some slides included in the module section as a reminder as well. So there's a picture that's got the tapping points on, and there's a slide that has the template for what's called a basic recipe. So in EFT, there is something called a basic recipe, and it's the simplest form of EFT. That doesn't mean it's any less powerful. It can actually be really, really powerful, especially for specific emotions. So I do this a lot for anxiety, and it works a treat. It works a treat. So the first thing before I get into the tapping itself, I just want to explain a little bit about something called the Sud Scale. So Sud, I think it stands for subjective units of distress, I think. And we use the Sud Scale in EFT as a measure for where we're starting and where we're ending up. Often what happens when we tap, and I've had this so many times when I've not scored the emotion that I'm tapping on or the issue that I'm tapping on, it can kind of leave that fully that one, you can't really remember what you've tapped on. Two, you're like, yeah, but I don't think it was that bad anyway. But it probably was, otherwise you wouldn't have been tapping on it. And three, things can just literally evaporate in my experience, and kind of in the experience of some of the early sessions I did with my clients where we didn't score either. So it's out of 10, 0 being not at all and 10 being absolutely low. So for example, if we were going to tap on feeling stressed out, 10 would be I couldn't be any more stressed out, and 0, don't feel stressed out at all. So it's really important in the basic recipe and the rest of EFT, but if for what I'm teaching you to take into your daily life, is to score on the Sud Scale where your emotion is. So one of the things I've also included in the slides is an emotion wheel. So sometimes it can be hard to put into words an emotion that we feel. So on the emotions wheel, it's got like the main emotions like sad, happy, anger, but then it branches out for each one and it's more specific. So I've included that to help you actually name and identify your emotions, because the more specific you are, the better EFT will work. So that is that bit what I wanted to tell you. So the actual basic recipe itself, super straightforward, and it's got 2 parts. The first part is the setup. Now we always do the setup on the side of the hand, and it's this fleshy bit. It doesn't matter whether you tap with 1 finger, 2 fingers, or all of your fingers. It doesn't matter which hand. You'll probably tap with your dominant hand. That's an assumption. You don't have to. You might want to tap with the opposite hand just to switch it up. But we tap on the side of the hand when we're doing what's called the setup statement. So the setup statement gives us a chance to tune in to actually feel the emotions that we're talking about. And with the basic recipe, it's a super simple format. We always start with, even though I feel anxious, sad, lost, insert whatever emotion you want, I deeply and completely love, forgive, and accept myself. Now here's the thing, some people do not resonate with saying love, forgive, and accept myself. If you are one of those people, please know that that is totally okay. It will vary depending on the emotion that you're working on. So if I was doing it maybe for anger, I don't love myself for being angry, so I would leave love out and I would say forgive and accept myself. Likewise, if I don't forgive myself for something just yet, again, that's totally okay, and I might just say accept myself. So just take a few moments to decide when you come to tap what feels more authentic for you. So in my one-to-one sessions, I will always ask my clients at the start, do you want to say love, forgive and accept yourself, just love and accept yourself? But at the very least it should say accept myself. if it's something that you're really struggling with, what you can say instead of accept myself is I am willing to work towards accepting myself as I am. So I really hope I've not made that more confusing than it needs to be, but I just think it's really important because quite often people think that EFT is not working for them, and it's because we're using words that aren't authentic or are causing resistance. So I'll repeat it. There's going to be information in the slides as well. So even though I feel, insert the emotion, I deeply and completely love, forgive and accept myself, or even though I feel I am willing to work towards accepting myself as I am. Or you could have, even though I feel I'm willing to work towards forgiving myself as I am. So you can use any combination of those words. You just want them to be the most authentic and specific for you. So I just thought it was really important to make that definition and make that distinction, I should say. For the purposes of what I'm going to show you, I'm probably going to just interchange it, use different versions of those three. So let's take, let's use the word, I will use the word anxious, because a lot of people can identify with that, I think. If you don't identify with it, it doesn't matter for this explanation. You can just substitute it for another word. So it would look like this. And I'm going to say the setup statement, which is what we do on the side of the hand. I'm going to say it 3 times. So even though I feel anxious, I deeply and completely love, forgive and accept myself. And even though I feel anxious, I deeply and completely accept myself. So even though I feel anxious, I deeply and completely accept myself as I am. So that's the setup statement, and the point of that is to tune into how you feel. Then we go to the reminder statements, and that's where we come into the tapping points. So I'm going to show you where they are and then I'll do the example. So we've got the crown of the head. I tap with 2 hands just because it's how I've always tapped from the very beginning. If you want to tap with 1 hand, it's totally fine. It makes no difference. I'm just used to doing it with 2. So we've got the top of the head. We've got the middle of the eyebrows, just here. We've got the side of the eyes, just a little bit under the temple. Underneath the eyes, underneath the nose, the middle of the chin, and then where your collarbones are, just underneath the collarbones, and then on the side of the rib cage. And then we would go back to the top of the head. So there, the 7 different tapping points. It's always the same loop. It's always the same process. We only ever use the side of the hand at the very beginning when we're tuning into the emotion. So if we're sticking with anxiety, all we would then do is repeat the name of the emotion. So this anxiety, anxiety, so much anxiety, anxiety. I feel anxious, I feel anxiety, I feel anxious, anxiety, all this anxiety, I feel anxious, I've got anxiety, I feel anxious, so much anxiety, anxiety, anxiety. And I would suggest doing the tapping rounds twice through, and then sit, close your eyes, and ask yourself where you would score the anxiety again. Back on the Sud Scale, it might not have moved. That's okay. It just means you need to tap more. It might have shifted a little bit. If you find it difficult to score, which a lot of us do at times, you can ask yourself, if I had to guess at what I would score this, and just give it a score based on that. It will be coming from your subconscious, so it can't actually be wrong. And if you really, really, really struggle with the scores, just sit with your eyes closed and just check in and think about how you feel in that moment. Do you feel any different? Do you feel any less anxious? And then just start again. So even though I've still got this anxiety, I deeply and completely accept myself as I am. So even though I've still got anxiety, I deeply and completely accept myself as I am. So even though I've still got anxiety, I deeply and completely accept myself as I am. This anxiety, I still feel anxious. This anxiety, this remaining anxiety, I still feel anxious. I still feel anxious. I can feel it in my chest. I feel anxious. I'm still really anxious. This anxiety, so much anxiety. This anxiety, this anxiety, this anxiety, all this anxiety, this anxiety. And if the score was still quite high, you could go around 3, 4, 5 times, maybe even with that reminder statement, with that reminder phrase, and then stop, check in with the score, see if the score's come down. If you're not doing the score, check in with how you feel. Do you feel less physically anxious? So just check in, and then repeat as much as you need to, as many times as you need to. You can't tap too many times. The physical tapping itself will only ever reduce the cortisol in the body, which is the stress hormone. So the physical tapping itself is naturally relaxing you just by the action of that anyway. So just keep doing it until that emotion gets down to, I was going to say 0, but a lot of people find it difficult to get some emotions to 0, especially if, you know, it's something that you kind of quite strongly identify with. So that's okay. Maybe just get it down to a score that feels right for you, because it may be, which is usually the case, emotions and feelings are just a marker for other deeper stuff that's going on, kind of other deeper things deeper down that could, you know, which could just be a sign for things that could need working on. You know, maybe it's past painful events, things that you've been through as childhood, maybe something that happened at work 3 months ago, which, you know, is still bothering you. It could be any sort of different thing, really. So just give it a go. The basic recipe is going to be summarized in the course anyway, so you'll be able to see it without kind of my ramblings. And if you've got any questions, please just come and ask me. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. Just send me a DM, or my contact details are in the course as well. Just send me a message, and if you're unsure about anything, just give me a call, a text, whatever, and I'll get back to you. But essentially, you can't do any damage with EFT. It's certainly not at this level anyway, because you're just working with the physical emotion, the mental emotion, or however it is that you're experiencing, and we're just looking to reduce it. So that's the basic recipe. I feel like I've made something basic sound really complicated, but I just really want you to get the most out of it that you can do. So, as a quick summary, setup statement is said 3 times on the side of the hand. So even though I feel sad, I deeply and completely accept myself as I am. You do that 3 times. I feel sad. I feel sad. All this sadness. I feel sad. I feel really sad. I feel really sad. I feel sad. I feel sad. And then repeat 2, 3, 4 times. Check in with your score. See if the sadness has settled, or whatever the feeling is that you're working on. And yeah, just keep repeating until the score comes down. EFT is just a great thing to do to calm emotions, to regulate your emotions. So I really hope you find some emotional freedom from this, the same way that I have. So thank you for being here. Bye.